Hi, welcome back. This time I'm going to be making another wedding display or events display. It's going to be a champagne cart of all things. Again, really looking forward to it. I've been sent a photograph of it by the customer and I'm going to make my version of it. I've already split the wood, so no point showing you me cutting wood on the table saw time and time again. And we'll just get into once I'm starting to assemble and bring the piece together. Enjoy the video. I'd love it if you would subscribe, hit the bell, help me get more likes and get my channel out there, and hopefully get more people subscribing and joining me in my woodworking adventure. And there seems to be a lot of wedding displays, but I certainly do make more than wedding displays. Great to have you with me. Enjoy the video and you'll start as I start to assemble the pieces together for the cart. Cut out everything to start the cart. Left hand side is the canopy, right hand side is the box for the base. All cut to size, ready to start assembly. So now the cart has a base with the wheels on, and then there's poles up to a canopy. What you see here is the canopy pieces starting to have battens glued to them, and they're the sides, and we'll have the front and back joined onto them at a later time once the glue's dried. I'll follow the same process for the box. We've already got them cut and battens ready. It's a bit more complex on the box, but we'll go through that step by step. So as you can see, I've glued battens on the sides of the main box, but the difference, unlike the canopy, we're the same. So this side will be at the rear of the main box for the cart, and there's going to be some legs. So I'm going to use the legs extending into the box as the batten to join the sides on and give the legs some extra strength. And then at the top, I'm just leaving room because there's going to be a 4x2 stuck there, which will allow the poles to be recessed into it. That one's slightly different. And then this one is just the normal batten, and again, room at the top for a 4x2 to allow the recess for the poles to go into. Allow these to dry, and then we can progress in pulling the boxes and the canopies together. So once the battens are dry to the side pieces, what I've done now is applied more glue and then clamped the longer sections to the battens which were dried on the side piece. Just check the set square and see how square it is. So we've just got them to dry now, and that's the main section of the canopy prepared. Okay, so the canopy base slots in. Unfortunately, I've left the battens slightly too proud, so I've just got to recess those a bit, and then we can look at gluing the base on. We're just taking the battens down a bit for a nice flush fit, ready to secure the base onto the canopy. Now starting to add additional battens to support the board, top and bottom. So originally I just fitted the corner battens, now we're ready to level the board off. I'm not fitting battens to that end at the moment because champagne glasses are going to rest in the base of the board, and that's the side that I want the champagne glasses to be able to slide onto a rack. And then if you note, I put some 4x2 in because there's going to be some chrome poles which will rest inside the canopy, and I just want to recess it into a strong area. In order to fit the 4x2, I've done some cutting so that it slots in with the battens and also glues onto the edge. So I'm going to do that for all 4 corners, and then I'm going to glue the base in. All the corner blocks are in place now, and then there's probably a little bit of overkill. I'm just going to put a further block in for support because they're going to take the full weight of the canopy and the glasses, just a little angled piece of wood. But to enable me to clamp it, I'm going to use a second piece which I put tape on to stop the wood glue from adhering to, and that should enable me to clamp it firmly against the inside. Hopefully you can see what I mean there. So this is the part that's being glued. Need to clean up the wood glue. That's being pulled up against the 4x2 block support, 4x3 block support. And this is the piece with the tape on the face to prevent the glue from making it stick, but allow me to use clamping pressure onto the sidewall. Last job of the evening, just before I go to bed. All the battens and blocks and block supports are all glued in place. I've now just slipped the base on, covered all the battens in wood glue, and just clamped the base in, ready to dry overnight. So now I'm starting to add the battens to the sides of the bottom box, or the main part of the cart. Again, for the top to recess on, I put the 4x3 in with the additional support, both sides. We've got the smaller original batten, and now I'm gluing the leg on. And on this side it's probably more obvious as I wipe the excess glue away. And this, along with the smaller batten and the top of the block, will be what the sides are glued on to secure it in. Unfortunately not a huge amount of room in my workshop, but we're gluing the sides now onto the base of the cart, and hopefully that makes more sense. So we have the leg of the cart being used to glue the side on, and then we've got the block, which is going to be the support for the pole, and then the smaller piece of batten there. Likewise on the other side. When that's dried and I'm comfortable with it, I'll look to glue the other end on. And we should have the basic carcass of the box then. So now I've got the final end of the cart main box, if you like. I need to attach. Make sure I'm adding plenty of wood glue. And then once I'm comfortable and I've put glue on both sides, I'll clamp it to the 3 sections that are already attached together. Unfortunately, it's a woodworker's life, never enough clamps, so I'm having to do section by section. A bit too generous on the glue there, take that off. Apply glue to the other end. A little bit concerned that my batten tapers off. Once it's dried, I'll sort that out and make sure I've got sufficient to glue it together. And it's going to be tricky on my own. We want that to recess. I think if I get the first clamp in and give it some support, I can then maybe play about a little bit on my own. Let's have a go, right. Slightly more difficult than I thought on my own, but there we go, we're all clamped up, ready to go. Now when the cart stands up, these are going to be supporting feet, and then there's going to be a set of wheels set further forward on an axle. Leave that to dry. So now the sides are dry. The lid outfit's slightly oversized, so let's just try. Just needs a touch down. Just mark that. So a little bit of sanding and just cutting short at the top. So I've done a bit of sanding now. Let's see if we can tease it in. Nice. Well, I can see what I haven't done, which I'll have to do first. What I haven't done is attach battens to the inside edge before I put the top on. So although the top fits, just happen to have some battens cut, I'm going to have to stick some battens in first. All the battens now fitted and drying. I'll leave that now because it's late evening. I'll do that in the morning and slip the top on, and we can start some of the finer details. This morning, as you can see, the battens are now in place, but what did occur to me last night, and I'm going to do this morning, is I'm just going to take measurements of the supporting blocks for the poles and transfer that onto the top piece so I can drill centrally into the support. So just to confirm what I mean, the wooden blocks are 90 by 80 millimeters. So 90 by 80. A set square. So I know this is the area that I can drill for support. I want to drill in the center. So in order to find the center piece, I'm just going to go from corner to corner. Center's marked with an X. I'm going to repeat that on all four corners, and then we can glue this into place ready for drilling. Well, if nothing else on this build, we've used an awful lot of glue. Now I don't have enough of these large clamps to clamp anywhere else, but I know where I'm drilling for the poles. So I'm going to place a couple of screws in the corners where the poles will go, and that'll be drilled out anyway. All secure. Let's leave it to dry. Okay, so the wheels in the photographs that I received stand slightly proud at the front of the cart. So I've put the wheels up against the cart, measured the center point of the wheel. My idea for the axle is to use 4x2 with an extended piece on the end for the actual bolt an axle for the wheel to go through. So therefore, where the 4B3 needs to start, I've come in 45mm. So that should be the edge of the 4B3. And I'll secure that in with glue and nails. And then to stand proud, I've put another section of 4B3 on, secured it with screws, not through the centre because obviously that's where the threaded bolt's going to go, and glue. Yet to do the other side, so I'll go through that with you. It's a bit experimental, but I think it's going to work. So I've cut sections or blocks off the 4B3, lined them up to the edge, and then because it's close to the end of the wood, I didn't want the wood splitting. I'm actually putting a small pilot hole in where I want the screws to go. Now, unfortunately, the drill bit that I've got isn't long enough to go straight through the wood. So what I'm going to do is just put the screws in now. And the screw's long enough to make a mark on the bottom section of wood. Now the screws have only just gone into the wood, so I'm going to put a pilot hole through this section of wood as well. Again, so the wood doesn't split on the end really. Now the screws I have will only just go through the wood. So what I'm going to do is just countersink into the top piece so that the screw can go. So the screw can go further through into the base and make it more secure. Put a bit of masking tape on to mark how deep I want it to go. And this drill bit is wider than the head on the screw. I'm going to apply some wood glue. And then just to help it, as I put the first screw in really, I'm just going to clamp it, make sure it's flush. There we go. And there we have bases of the axle. And now to locate these into the bottom section of the box. So rather than you watching me struggle on my own clamping the axle in, I've done that off camera. I've marked the outside where the 4B3 would go. I put a centre line in and I put a pilot hole in ready to accept some screws. Now some screws are in place. I've removed the clamp and the screws will apply the pressure required. Wait for that to dry. Everywhere else I've not put screws on the outside of the box, but here is going to be covered with the wheel and it's adding extra security to the axle, so I've no problem having them there. So I'm drilling the holes for the poles now, which are going into these areas that we measured earlier. in order to get a 90-degree angle, all I've done is drilled a bit of a jig on the drill press, which hopefully will drive this in, the drill bit in, at 90 degrees. I'm just taking it down so that the spike protrudes, and I can place that into the centre hole that was created earlier. Once I've started, I'm going to just continue through. Repeat that on all four corners and we're away. So the wheels aren't fitted yet, it's just resting up against to get the feel of it, and the back legs will need shortening. But the first trial fit of the canopy is not 100% perfect. There's some minor adjustments to be done. But I think we've got it. Approximately 7 foot tall all told. To connect the wheel to the cart, we're looking at the axle. I'm going to use 8mm threaded bar, drilled into the extended piece, and I've drilled the hole slightly wider. I've drilled it at 9mm, and I'm going to secure the bar in with epoxy. Just to show how I've managed that, in order to get a straight drill into the axle, I've drilled another block of wood with a 9mm hole in on the drill press, used that as a drill jig, and drilled straight through the hole into the axle to make sure that it keeps at the 90-degree angle. I've not taken it all the way through the axle, but the majority of the way. I'm going to cut this off slightly larger than required, so I can cut it back later. And now all I need to do is mix some epoxy, and mix some epoxy and glue it in the hole. What I may do is use this block to make sure that the bar doesn't move off its 90 degrees. So I've got me 2-part epoxy. It's 2 ton and it's waterproof. So just need to mix equal parts of the epoxy. As I said, I've made the hole slightly larger than the threaded bar. The threaded bar's 8mm. I've made the hole 9mm. And in that way you'll give something for the resin, or space for the resin to set and hold the bar in place. Just give that a thorough mix and put that in the hole we've made. Slot the bar in, a bit of an elbow up. The bar's all the way in, and a little tidy up. So I'm just making a pair of spacers for both sides. I need twice the thickness, so these are going to be glued together. What I am going to do though is cut a straight line across, and I'll just show you why now before I glue them together. So when the spacer's fitted on the axle, I'm going to have one recess behind this plywood here, and then the round one sat on top. Hence, if I just cut across, measure and cut across, I've got one straight one and one round one before I glue. So I hope that makes it clearer. Glue those together now. tidy them up when they're dry. So you can see now how the spacer was designed to fit. And now we'll place the wheel on top of the spacer. Okay, so we'll place a washer, which will go against the bush that we've inserted into the wheel. Place the wheel, place the second washer. So it's just a little bit damaged, I think, where I cut it off. There we go. And then we just need to repeat on the other side. Not too tight, but we just insert a little bit. We have a cart. Excellent. Absolutely brilliant. So on the wheels, unfortunately the bush's idea wasn't working. There's too much movement in the wheels. So I've gone ahead and bought some skateboarding bearings. Perfect fit, and stop the wheels wobbling as much. They were catching the sides with the bushes. So to start the champagne flute rack, I've measured where I want the rack slots to be. I've got the centre hole, just using a Forstner bit. This will be the end of the rack with the opening at the other side. To cut the rack out to receive the glasses, I've just used a jigsaw to cut the lines. I'll tidy them up with a bit of sanding. I've just got to now cut in an opening for the base of the flutes. So now I've cut the rack on the inside of the canopy where it won't be seen. I'll just add in a little block for additional support. Started to cut out the rack for the glasses or for the flutes. Still needs sanding off. There's the Hannibal but finish 2 that I've done. And then I've cut, or roughly cut, the others. Finish those off tomorrow. Okay, so I've put the cart together to check the glasses rack. See what it looks like. Seems okay to me. Bit more sanding to be done. Looking good. So the main construction's finished of the top of the cart or the canopy, where the wine glasses go, etc., or the champagne flutes go, etc. And now it's time to sand down. I'm sure you don't want to watch me sanding, so I'll crack on with that, not on film, and hopefully we'll get round to painting the canopy today. Okay, final sanding finished on the canopy, ready to paint. So this morning we've got some painting going on. Normally I do 3 coats of acrylic undercoat and then 1 or 2 coats of acrylic top coat. I won't show you me painting it, but using a small roller and brushes to get inside the more awkward spaces. So I'm starting to make the handles now for the cart. I've just cut out some 4x2. It's 2 pieces stuck together so I get the same shape. I've rough cut it on the bandsaw, but to get the circular shape I've just picked something nice and round. Happens to be a wood glue pot. Need to sand this back now, nice and smooth, and then drill a 25mm hole to accept the handle. Okay, 2 handles cut, sanded. Now to bore 25mm hole to accept the handle, and I'm going to use a Forstner bit to do that. So I've just taken a line from the straight edge at a right angle from the end of the curve. If I measure that now, that's 6 centimeters. Center point 3 centimeters. Likewise on the other one. Center point 3 centimeters. Now you've got to drill opposites, so make sure, put it the right way for you, so make sure that you're marking on the inside so that when they're together the pole will go across the centre. I've got a 25mm Forstner bit. Now to go to the drill press and drill the hole. I've just set the depth gauge on my drill. I'm using a clamp to keep my fingers away from the bit and to make sure I can get a good grip on the wood. And away we go. Okay, so I've chosen my location. I've drawn around the wood, and now I need to drill holes into the wood so I can pull screws through into the handle and secure it onto the framework, onto the bodywork, sorry. Now I just need to screw from inside the cart into the handle, put some glue on, secure it down. Unfortunately I can't really get any clamping pressure on. I don't think it's going to be an issue because they're going to be screwed in as well. So I'm just a little bit of pressure on holding it in place, wait for the glue to dry and then put the screws in. Can't put the other side on just yet because I need to measure the bar and cut the bar ready. So the first handle bracket is secured on now. I've screwed it in from the back after the glue drying. We've got the 25mm hole which will receive the pole as a handle, which is countersunk about 2 centimeters. So the pole goes in. And then we've got these covers that came with the poles just to finish off the edge here, so we're going to put those in position now, and obviously this one needs to be the opposite way around. I'm not going to secure those yet, I'll do that later on when the cart's finished. And then we've got the other bracket, slots on, and then I can glue this into position and screw as I did previously with the other one. Handles no need to ever come out, so that's going to be secure, hence why we put these in first. So let me get to glue these. I'm just aligning the bracket. The line marks that I made previously. Fortunately, again, I can't apply too much pressure just because of the nature of how it's being fitted, but there will be some screws going in later. Those bright ones amongst you will realise I fitted the handle to the wrong side of the trolley. So what I'm going to do is cut them off. Shall leave a very fine bit which I'll sand back and refit them to the correct side. Dope. All painted, wheels are painted as well. Just put the chrome finishes on for the upright posts for them to slot into. Just waiting for it to dry now. Wheels just waiting to dry. Milmo Creations, just adding some marbling effects to the cart. Looks really good. Milmo Creations is a genius. Okay, so completed. Possibly not showing at its best because it's a bit of a dull day here in North Wales. But we have a completed champagne cart and flute rack. Fortunately at home I've only got the one glass. So the base marbled as per customary requirements, and hand painted champagne sign, and a canopy hand painted champagne sign. Champagne flute, just exit the racking. Top, 2 champagne buckets and condiment pots.